Couple of thoughts. First of all, is that I would just encourage folks that you might not identify word with the word workaholic. So I would just say, challenge yourself to listen in, regardless of whether that term resonates for you, because I think there's a lot of different terms people could use to describe this, and I'm sure there are folks who maybe fall into this who are not identifying with that word. The other thing that stands out to me is this is super loaded because, as you all know, I always want to get to the why behind things, because to me, you need to know what's behind it in order to clearly understand it. Because when I think about the quote unquote signs you just went over, Lane, those are things a lot of us are experiencing, but I don't know that it's because you're a quote unquote workaholic. So, when I think of this term workaholic, I think about, and I think you're meaning to talk about people who are more intentionally like prioritizing work and are valuing it in a certain way and viewing it in a certain way. But I think that there are, and even with those folks, there are reasons for that, which then would cause us to all potentially land in various different subcategories, potentially, in which the answer or potential suggestions for uh, potentially a resolve or whatnot would change, or be different. So, first of all, we live in a society where, unfortunately, we are still um, subscribing to a belief system and a way of living that indicates that your career and your work really is your identity. And so, if you're alive in the world today, it would be hard not to be thinking that way. I think, Lane, one of the things I always appreciate about these episodes with you is that we're in two different generations. And you all will hear from Amber in a moment, but Amber and I are in the same generation. And so we are closer to the generation in which this belief system was born in, right? Or perhaps they would say they inherited it as well. So we know that, generationally speaking, there is certainly a new age perspective that's evolving and coming to the forefront that says, we want balance. But that's a new word, right? That's a new term. And I know for myself and Amber coming up, that wasn't something that was even proposed as an option. Never even had the opportunity to potentially even think about that. And so some of this just is that you live the way you live because you grew up
Mhm.
being taught that that's the right thing and that's the good thing and that's the moral thing and that's the ethical thing. So it's what you do.
And when I think about times when we're working a lot and we're like, okay, this is like you said, the term can be used or not, is what am I gaining from it? What is my need from it? So a lot of times when we're moving into something, we're like, oh, I'm getting something from it. We're
Wait a minute,
doing
Amber,
it.
are you giving us solutions already? Because you be loving solutions.
No,
Are
I'm
you
just
already
saying,
going there?
I'm not
Okay,
going
good.
for solutions. I'm
We're
saying
not ready yet.
we're asking these questions. We're doing
Okay,
things because we're getting something from it.
got it.
And
So
when
so you're saying, in order to kind of get a sense for where you might be within all this, you suggest that we start with asking ourselves the question, why are we doing it? What are we getting from
right,
it? Got it.
right, because we're getting fulfilled in some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And especially when we're talking about that helper, like talking about that the helping profession. And we often will get into this mindset of, oh, they need me.
Mm-hmm.
They need me to do A, B, and C, right? They need me to connect into this resource. They need me to, oh, they need me to uh call back, whatever the case is, right? They need all of these things. We then move because we feel like I'm needed. So sometimes they're still
Yeah.
fulfilling. We're getting some fulfillment in that. So it's
Well, you
interesting.
know
I'm
what?
just,
On that point, I think we get fulfillment in all of it, even when it's
yes.
full blown chaos. Because we talk. I can't remember how long ago that was, Lane, that we talked about. I think it was codependency and just how, like, when we help other people, even if you're not in a helping
Mm,
profession, when you do stuff, if you're the one who came through in the clutch at work, Like, even if you hate it and you hate your boss and you hate that they call you every time, it feels good to be able to say and take the credit for being the one who came through in the clutch, being the one who stayed late. And regardless of all that's laced in it, there's no negating that the human mind and the human spirit and the human heart is just like, yes,